Hey everyone, I'm so sorry this video took so long to get out. I wanted this out last year. And I also apologize for this sudden release, as I actually have not resumed production on my Let's Plays yet. I'm still working things out with scheduling and such, but I wanted to get this video done and out of the way before moving on with that. So, with that said, let's move on with the review. Wait a minute, why are we here again? Is what you might be wondering. Well, if you remember the version comparison section of my Sonic R review, you'll know that I kind of skimmed over the PC version and focused on the GameCube. Of course, I was also labeling the GameCube version as just the PC version, so it turns out that I actually had to do more research on the PC version, and, well, I'm going to show you what I found. Behold, Sonic R for PC, originally released in 1998. This game was built with Windows 95 and 98 in mind, and uses DirectX 6. It has a couple different rendering modes that I'll get to later. But guess what? This isn't the only version of Sonic R that was released on PC. I'm not talking about just reprints that are forgetting to put the music on the CD. Bleh. I mean, there was a refresh of the code for the port. So, enter the 2004 PC version of Sonic R, which has Windows XP in mind instead of Windows 95. So the game now uses DirectX 9, and is fully compatible with modern hardware. No DX-Wind, no compatibility mode, no having to hex edit the EXE to fix a bug, nothing. The game works out of the box. Both versions of the game are 32-bit, so there's no issues running either version in a 64-bit version of Windows like most computers have nowadays. The 1998 version, though, jeez, this is a pain to get running on modern hardware. So I mentioned a program called DX-Wind earlier. It's a program whose primary function is to run DirectX games in windowed mode, specifically for games that don't have windowed functionality. It does a lot more though, and it doesn't have to window the game. It's able to hook onto certain DirectX versions and apply some fixes. Now the reason I mention this is because Sonic R 1998 actually has an input glitch on Windows NT based versions of Windows, which render the game completely unplayable unless you patch it. So DX-Wind actually fixes this issue. So with that said, I'll be showing footage of Sonic R on my main Windows rig using DX-Wind. So this will be how I showed 1998 Direct 3D mode. As for Direct Draw, which is basically software rendering, I could get Direct Draw mode to start on my Windows installation, but every time I loaded a stage, it locked up. So I had to take some other measures. Meet my Windows 2000 virtual machine. It's a clean installation for the sole purpose of, well, nothing until this video. So this is how I'll be running Direct Draw mode. There are still issues though. I did have the game running in a Windows 98 2nd Edition VM, but that came with its own issues. VirtualBox actually doesn't support guest editions for any DOS-based version of Windows, including Windows 98. So there's no sound, video, 3D acceleration out of the box. Getting any of that to work was a pain. I had sound working at one point, but it stopped working for Sonic R. I basically just gave up, so Windows 2000 was able to install the game no problem, but again, Sonic R 1998 was built for DOS-based Windows. 2000 is Windows NT, so that means it was also affected by the input bug. But I was able to get DX-Wind running on Windows 2000, so I got the game working, and the VM defaults to Direct Draw instead of Direct 3D. I actually can't select Direct 3D. That's a win for me though, because that is how I will be showcasing Direct Draw mode in Sonic R. With all that said, Sonic R has to be one of the most stubborn PC games I've ever run. Ever. Input bugs that prevent me from even getting to the main menu, or an error that happens from having a computer that's too fast, blah. This game can be a pain, but I got it working eventually. But seriously, it's no wonder that they went and refreshed the code in 2004. So, this means I'll be covering 3 different graphics renderers and 2 different ports of Sonic R for PC. It won't take too long, even though that introduction is nearly like 5 minutes. So, I already explained the technical changes. Let's move on. Sonic R in 1998 was, of course, the initial port of the game from the Sega Saturn. With that said, the first few changes are clearly visible. As I stated before, textures changed, most noticeably in the sky, so the colors are different and feel a little less natural. Okay, a lot less natural if you're looking at Resort Island. Beyond that, the gameplay has seen no changes. I think it's lag because of my virtual machine, but 1998 Sonic R felt a little looser than 2004. Again, it could just be the VM lagging because I'm using the exact same control scheme throughout all the versions. The gameplay elements are exactly the same, but the menus differ a little bit depending on your graphics mode. I can't test this under Direct 3D in the fear of the game crashing on me for the 20th time, but for Direct Draw, the resolution can be lowered to 320 by 240, and you can set it to be interlaced, and the color mode can be changed to 8-bit or 256 colors. When you change the color to 8-bit, it actually restores the Saturn's fade-in transition, instead of the zooming oval that the PC port added. I found this pretty interesting, and it threw me off when I first launched the game because the game defaulted to 8-bit color. So I figured it out when I switched the game's settings. The 2004 port actually removes the graphics settings entirely, so the only thing you can really edit is the draw distance by using the F1 and F2 keys. So for the footage you're seeing so far, the 1998 version is running at 640 by 480 in 16-bit color, and the mod loader for the 2004 version lets me run the game at 960 by 720. I could run it at 1280 by 720, but even though the mod loader did add aspect ratio support, it's not perfect, and some things stretch or don't fill the screen. I'm a little bit picky about that. One point of interest I stayed on in the main review was the water reflection. I mentioned before that the PC version just made it look bad without actually showing footage of it. No PC version ever retained the Saturn surface texture, but the reflection effect does change depending on the version. In Direct Draw mode, the reflection looks almost exactly the same as the Saturn, but I don't know, but something feels off about it. Maybe it's just that there isn't a surface texture. 1998 Direct 3D mode is what I was complaining about before. It completely messes up the reflection and makes it a lot more subtle. It goes for a very simple wavy effect, and the waves are vertical instead of horizontal, so yeah, it almost looks like a Sega Genesis effect, just done pretty bad. The 2004 version did fix it and made it look smoother and more like the Saturn version. And again, because the textures change and there's still no surface texture, it's not exactly like the Saturn, and no version will ever be like the Saturn. One thing I didn't cover at all in the original review was lighting on the stages, simply because I actually didn't notice it before. So take a look at Radical City in the Direct 3D version of Sonic R here. Now, take a look at the Direct Draw version. Do you see any differences? It turns out that the Saturn and Direct Draw versions had very vibrant lighting effects on the stages. This is because they use vertex lighting to add colors to the otherwise plain textures. The lighting is technically still there in Direct 3D mode, but the way the colors are applied made it basically unnoticeable. You can tell that it's still there by importing the stage into Blender using a plugin someone made, I completely forget their name, I'm sorry, and turning off the textures. Boom! Fancy lighting. The stage that took the biggest hit was, of course, Radical City, but other levels had nice lighting in the original that didn't end up carrying over. However, when the mod loader first came out for the 2004 version of Sonic R, one of the biggest wishes people had, including myself, was for someone to make a mod that restored the original lighting system. We went for a little while without that actually happening, but in the beginning of 2019, it happened. One Invisible Up on Twitter had posted work-in-progress pics of a mod she was working on to restore the original lighting by changing the color mode that the game used to apply lighting. And on January 22nd, she made it official and released it on Game Banana. It's a good place to download mods for any game, not just Sonic games. And she also released a statement about how she did it, what she had to change and stuff like that. And I am here to say, holy crap, this is near perfect! The levels are so much more vibrant, and I really wish this would have been how they handled the lighting on GameCube as well. Radiant Emerald is even transparent now. Yes, it's not perfect, but it still looks way more like the Saturn version. Thank you so much, Invisible Up. I absolutely refuse to play the game without this mod anymore. So I will have a link to the Game Banana page in the description so you can download the mod too. I think I've covered the big points I wanted to get out in this video, and I don't think I'd be able to continue without getting extremely nitpicky. like with how distance fog is handled between Direct Draw and Direct 3D, or some of the 3D models getting slightly upgraded but having texture issues, or my never-ending fascination with the differences between DOS-based Windows and Windows NT. Sonic R for PC is Sonic R for PC, give or take. I didn't cover any gameplay differences because, well, that's all in my main review, which you can check out in the card up there. The good news is, no matter what version of Sonic R you have, you can upgrade to the 2004 version and install a mod loader. There's actually an installer out now that you can find on Sonic Retro's forums that upgrades the 1998 version to 2004, or if you already have 2004, it just installs the mod loader. It comes bundled with ADX audio as well, so you don't need to worry about music. Basically, there's no better time to grab a PC copy of Sonic R if you're curious. Especially with Invisible Up's lighting mod and ADX audio from the get-go, I dare say the 2004 PC version is the superior version of Sonic R. I know I get a kick out of it from time to time. I have it installed permanently on my external drive, so no matter what computer I use, I've got Sonic R. Now when are we gonna get custom tracks? Anyway, this has been Speedy Spikes. I hope you all learned something new today about Sonic R, and I'll see you later. Signing off.